bad movies, bad life advice, and even worse life decisions. We cover it all here on the Life with Kenny podcast. I'm your host, Kenny. Grab a beer, sit back, and relax for this week's episode, because things are about to get weird.
What's an all-American girl like you doing with a geek like this?
Forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for late pizza.
Fuck me gently with a chainsaw.
Jimmy was off the hook. I know you really don't listen to Slipknot. Judge Reinhold.
You are listening to a Life with Kenny podcast.
Not quite my tempo. It's all good. No worries. Here we go.
Welcome to this week's episode of Movie Night, the podcast series where you find out why Judd Crandall feels the same way about corpses as moviegoers feel about remakes. That sometimes dead is better. I'm joined by my regular co-hosts Patrick and Kyle to discuss the 2019 remake of the 1989 cult horror film.
Are they
Pet
getting
Sematary.
worse? I feel like the intros are getting worse somehow.
That was the same as the last one.
I just tweaked like one phrase because I thought it was topical. This is basically the exact same movie review is what we're doing for a different movie. So we're talking about 2019 Pet Sematary today. It's going to be a little bit of a different format because we don't have the post or pre-show stop, go talk, come back thing.
Yeah.
So I figured this time, since we all went and saw it opening night in theaters, which was tonight, we're recording this on Friday. I think this will be released next Friday. So it'll give people time to go see the movie if they really want to watch it before they listen to this. Okay, so before we jump into the movie, I was thinking maybe since we recorded the original Pet Sematary episode 2 days ago, we don't really have things to talk about for things we've seen. Unless
What kind of beer did you guys have?
Huh?
What kind of beer did you have?
When?
Original 16 had two.
Oh, 16?
And I was pretty wavy after that, honestly. I was
We
feeling
gotta talk
pretty
about
good.
something. Break the ice.
Oh, I got some stuff to talk about. That's why I'm kind of curious here.
Yeah,
if
I
you
nearly
guys have
fell
seen
over.
anything.
So I was pretty tipsy by the time we got into the theatre.
Right.
Also, I choked on Kyle's popcorn while he was in the bathroom. Also,
While you were in the bathroom with him?
no,
That
that was choking
popcorn
on his,
you choked on?
his penis.
Oh, yeah.
But while I was sat there choking on the popcorn, I then reached for my drink and spilt my drink all over my shirt.
Kyle,
It was not my fault.
your penis is getting both the
Right.
title of popcorn and drink today? What the hell?
Yeah, and then when I stood up to go to the bathroom
To
I
clean off the
pretty
drink,
much
wink, wink.
fell over because I was actually quite drunk.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I'm glad this movie sobered you up enough to
yeah.
get...
Well, I
get
think
here.
the 3 burgers that I'm making my way through are going to
that
help
you just
also.
inhaled.
Yeah, man. That's why I don't want to get any food, because I'd have been done before you guys even got your food.
Yeah, that's fair.
man.
I figured, so today, do you guys have anything you've watched in the past 2 days? Probably not, hey?
No, I haven't watched anything really.
Last night I watched an old episode of Family Guy.
And
It was
how-
on TV.
How was that?
It was stupid.
As it is. I figured actually today, since we all went to the same movie, we would talk about the trailers that we saw beforehand. Because as I was watching them, I was like, you know what? I kind of want to talk about these trailers. These are some movies that are coming out that I have mixed feelings about.
Yeah, there was that one horror trailer.
Okay,
It was
so
horrible.
So the first one I want to bring up is the Dark Phoenix movie. Are you guys fans of the X-Men movies?
The one thing that I noticed about that trailer is all of them are supposed to look younger, right? Like they're all supposed to be younger actors, but they all looked fucking old.
Right.
I haven't. I feel like the struggle with that is because the X-Men films have been so erratic in the way they've been released.
Right.
There's so many different characters.
And quality-wise.
Right.
I feel like since Logan, the release of Logan, you can't really top it, especially
what?
going back to the story.
I've seen more X-Men films than I have any other superhero films.
Right.
I've seen more in the X-Men series than I have Marvel, DC, any of that stuff.
And how do you feel about them? Like for me, First Class
honestly-
knocked it out of the park. Like that was a good revamp of the X-Men franchise.
Well, I liked the one where the mutants were kind of rising up. But what's his
That's
face?
all of them.
No. Like, what's his name? Magneto had taken on a bunch of them and made them kind of have his own ideology.
Right.
Oh,
And
is
they
that
were
like when they're in the glass room at the beginning?
Yeah.
They were
it's-
like invading that prison island to try and liberate all the ones that had been captured.
Right.
I like that movie. I thought the concept of that was real cool because there would obviously be that divide.
Right.
But then I don't know, I sort of lost track after that. They started time traveling, and I
Yeah.
think when movies start time traveling, that's when I kind of lose.
They
interest.
run out of ideas.
Yeah, right.
Well, so what I think happened is Fox they were in the process of making one more X-Men movie, which I did like. The first one of this current iteration was first class. The second one was kind of shitty, and then the third one, the Apocalypse one, was like
Yeah, I did see that.
was impossible to
I
follow.
did see that. Sorry, I was reaching for my burger. Didn't want anyone to hear the rappers.
And for that one threw me off completely off the X-Men movies. So like now, then they announced Logan, and that was a breath of fresh air. Like you were kind of like, okay, they can do X-Men movies right. This is the way you got to do it. You got to go hard R, all in, self-contained story, no time travel bullshit, just that.
Well, like, say if they'd done like they did for Logan, if they did one about Cyclops,
Right.
I feel like that would have been pretty cool because he had fucking virtually no control over his power, right?
Well, the thing is if you take it as just like in general any character and you make it like a gritty, grounded character, or even just go balls out with it like they did with Deadpool, it's fine. People will like it. But I feel like they're dragging out a story that nobody wants to see. Even though Dark Phoenix is one of the like most popular X-Men stories ever made, like written, like the comic book itself is like huge, and trying to turn that into a movie now with the characters that they have that people don't really want to see, I feel like it's going to be like it's going to be crickets at the box office.
Question for you: is a movie adaptation of a comic book usually better than a movie adaptation of a book?
It depends. It depends on this comic book
'Cause
story.
I
Because if the
would
comic
say-
book story sucked in the first place and they made a good movie out of it, it's different than having an awesome book that turned into a shitty movie.
True.
And
I would say-
it depends what comic book, because like even Deadpool, there's how many different variations of Deadpool comic
Right.
books, right? And now you have a movie that's based off of
I
don't
feel
know,
like
one of them.
I feel like with the Marvel universe in general, they've done a pretty good job at keeping their quality high overall. I know you'd probably disagree, but I think most people would. DC's had trouble keeping it, and I think the X-Men movies in general have good parts and bad parts, and I feel like it hasn't delivered on the stories that they're basically taking the most popular X-Men stories you can possibly do, and then just kind of throwing a movie out into the public to be like, this is just like a fraction of the information.
I mean, I am guilty in a sense that I've never really given the Marvel universe a try.
right.
Like, I've never been wildly interested in them. But if I sat down and watched all the movies back to back, I'd probably think, fuck, this is wild. Because I know there's like, it's big budgets, right?
Yeah.
Big budgets, mad special effects, loads of fucking action all over the place.
Have you seen any of them at all, really?
I've seen the Avengers
And you didn't like it?
and Captain America.
Well, there's a 22 movie 59-hour marathon.
Yeah, the
starting-
two days before
It's like
Endgame
April
comes. It's 2 days before Endgame
yeah.
comes, I
It's
think.
like April.
so
is it
is
13th or
Endgame going to
something?
be the last one?
So Endgame is going to be what wraps up the current, basically from what they started from the beginning to now. It's basically going to be like the end of the story.
I'm sure
then they
more
have
people make different
Spider-Man. The new Spider-Man movie comes out after that, but that's going to be its own like self-contained thing based off of that. That was weird. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, it kind of popped in and out.
So that
Too loud.
that's its own thing. Oh, it's
Do it
your
again.
headphone thing. But after that, apparently they're taking 2 years off of Marvel movies, is what I read. So I mean, it makes sense because Marvel actually Disney acquired Marvel. They also just acquired Fox, which is Deadpool, all the X-Men characters and stuff. So who knows? Maybe they're trying to find a way to cast these X-Men characters properly and
Kind of
integrate
worries
it.
me a little bit. Disney with Deadpool.
No, they already said that they're not changing anything about it. It's successful on its own, so why would they change it? They said they're okay with hard R and stuff. They even said with like Logan and stuff, they're cool with that stuff.
So
Like Disney's they already greenlit the next Alien movie.
Well, like I've probably said this before on the podcast, but that was the genius behind Logan. Is that everyone that grew up watching X-Men was, when Logan came out, they were able to get into R-rated movies.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
that fans grow up.
I know that's the biggest point, and I think that's the biggest disappointment with people now is they want the R stories that they think that would be the best version of these characters. Like Venom was kind of a disappointment because it felt like they were holding back the entire time.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Well, I don't know.
So what's your guys' favorite X-Men character? If you were to pick one.
Character? I mean, Wolverine's classic. It would
Right.
probably be Wolverine.
Yeah.
Just because overall, even in the comics and stuff, he's got a lot. And he's Canadian, so he's got a lot going on there.
Like the actual Wolverine as a character in the comic books is Canadian?
Yep.
Huh, the more you know.
do.
Well, he seems to be the only one that has a power that doesn't also come as a massive inconvenience.
Well, he's also the only one that really has like a man-made power as well.
But like, there's a girl in there that can touch people and they die.
Yeah, Rogue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then there's What's-Her-Face that just goes mental and everything explodes.
Okay, what X-Men character would you like to see have a movie?
The Frog Boy.
Toad.
Yeah. I think Toad's pretty dope.
Do you know?
That'd be like the Ant movie.
Do you know? Do you know the band Say Anything?
Nope.
No, they're like kind of like an emo band. The singer of that band, Max Bemis, he wrote a comic book a couple years ago called The Worst XMen, and it's about a teenage boy who has powers, except he can't use them because his power is to turn himself into an atomic bomb, but it's like a one use power because he would die too.
Yeah.
So it's like, how would you find out that's your power, first of all? Second of all, he goes to Mutant Academy now because he has powers. They force him to go to this academy with all these powered people, but his power is literally like to suicide bomb once, and that's it.
What about
Like, that would be a fucking, like, torturous
Doom Squad?
Doom Patrol.
Yeah, Doom Patrol.
Yeah, they made a TV series of that.
Because there's a movie coming out soon, right?
No, there's a TV series. Brendan Fraser is one of the
Yeah, he's the
characters in it.
robot, right?
Yeah, it's a TV series. I think it's on FX or something like that.
Oh, I didn't realize it was a TV
Or
series. That was a
Hulu,
movie.
maybe? But yeah, they turned it into a TV series. Yeah, there's lots. There's Runaways. There's all kinds of Marvel characters that they could do cool things with. But
Growing up, I always thought Gambit was a really cool.
yeah,
X-Men
well,
character.
Gambit was going to be played by Channing Tatum.
Oh yeah.
They were going to do a Gambit movie with Channing Tatum. Apparently, he's a huge fan of the characters, so I'd be intrigued to see how that goes. But
All right, next, what's up?
yeah, I was just curious because I think Dark Phoenix is going to be kind of a flop. It's going to
Yeah.
be a little
Oh, yeah.
bit of a disappointment, which is sad. But and then we had the La Llorona movie.
I think that is
Garbage.
going to be dog shit.
So, are you guys fans of the Conjuring verse, the
Yeah.
Conjuring universe?
The first movie, yes.
Didn't like the second.
I liked the second, but only because of how fucking creepy the nun is. But then I watched the nun, and then it was obsolete.
See, I liked the Nun.
Oh, I liked it. But all she really did, think about it, all she did when she was ever on camera was move forward slowly
Right.
and go, "Meh." There was, bar that,
Right.
there was nothing. It was like a gentle mugging at the end of that movie.
Yeah, that's fair.
But like, yeah, I feel like they should have kept it. They should have withdrawn her a little bit until right at the end of the movie. Because the most terrifying thing about the nun is that
See-
you don't really know what she is.
Well, but also, you already know what she looks like, so withdrawing and holding her back makes no sense in that regard.
But you knew what she looked like in The Conjuring. Because you knew it from that, right?
Yeah, it's the exact same, though.
Yeah.
In The Nun.
But in The Conjuring, she was creepier. Because she only appeared...
I don't know. There was that one hallway scene in The Nun that was really fucked up.
That was disgusting.
I'm
I
telling you,
hated that.
I think The Nun is a very underrated horror movie, and I feel like a lot of people just wrote it off for whatever reason. Because when I went and saw it, I was kind of floored about how like decent it was. Maybe it's because I went in with low expectations, but
See, I think that was my problem. I went in with quite high expectations because I loved like the idea of the nun.
right.
I just feel like, yeah, my problem is that I fucking love backstory, like lore,
Yeah.
you know. So even if a film is garbage, if there's a cool idea behind it, I'll think the film is way better.
Like Sleepaway Camp
Exactly.
or Miami
But like,
Connection.
there's so many terrible horror movies,
Yeah.
but they have such original ideas.
Yeah. I mean, but original doesn't always make it good.
It doesn't
though.
always mean good, no.
Like,
But
for example,
you
Hereditary.
Yeah, whatever. But you kind of take that idea and think that if someone with better acting skills and better directing skills got hold of that idea first, it probably would have been really good.
Right.
And I start like thinking about what I would have changed in my head, and I end up freaking myself out even more than the movie did. You know,
Yeah.
I like horror in that regard.
Right.
Like I love putting myself in it.
Yeah, that's fair. Kyle looks like he's fallen asleep. Do you like the Conjuring movies?
I don't watch that stuff.
We should definitely watch one with him.
We should, but I don't like. It's almost something that maybe we should do outside of the podcast. Just like one night, just get together and do that. But
We should do it the night that we chat shit around the fire.
yeah, we should do that.
Doesn't have to be a
But-
movie night.
So La Llorona, the reason I ask is because apparently this is part of the Conjuring verse somehow. It's the same guy, James Wan, who created Saw and created the Conjuring verse, whatever, and did Aquaman. He directed Aquaman.
All right.
Which was awesome, by the way. He is doing La Llorona. I think he might just be producing, but it's apparently part of the Conjuring verse.
It looked like garbage.
So that's kind of what I was based on knowing that now and seeing the trailer. Does that change your perspective on it at all?
The thing I didn't like about the trailer was that the one thing that was probably going to frighten people was the fucking jump scare.
Yeah.
Jump scares are fucking worthless.
Right.
And they drive me mental because it's like...
And there was like 2 or 3 in that whole trailer.
Yeah, you build the tension, you build the tension, you build the tension, and then boom, it's immediately gone.
Yeah.
If you don't have that big reveal, you kind of leave people at that fucking like, holy shit, something's still gonna happen, I know it.
Right.
But then they naturally start to come down, and then something does happen, and it's like, fuck you piece of shit.
Right.
It really scares the fuck out of you, which I like.
See, I have 2 issues with this trailer. My first one is it looks straight up like an episode of Supernatural, the TV show. It looks like it's just ripped out of Supernatural. My second issue is there's so much mythology out there with cool names. You throw out Bloody Mary's coming to get you. You're like, Bloody Mary. That's creepy. That gives you tingles. Boogeyman. Yeah. But then it's like, La Llorona. And it's like, okay, so what is that?
It's a Spanish porno.
Right. Well, like it could be anything, right? It's not gonna have the same effect on people who aren't familiar with the language if they're just like La Llorona. It's like Pico de Gallo's coming to get you. It's like chill out, Scarface. Like I don't.
My name's Don Corleone.
Right, and that's a bit more effective than La Llorona.
Right? Yeah. You have a fucking dead mobster coming after your kids. I'd be shitting myself.
Yeah,
Find a horse head in your bed.
I wanted to. I haven't seen The Godfather. Have you guys?
No.
I've seen some of it.
I think that's one we could maybe do for this one.
I'm not sure.
Too much?
Because that's a 3-hour movie.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, maybe not.
That's disgusting.
But yeah, the reason I was asking is just because I when I watched it, the trailer, I just remember so many people saying it's going to be so terrifying and shit. And that was probably the second time I saw that trailer.
Yeah, first time I saw the trailer, I was... Well, I didn't see a trailer. I saw like a very quick teaser for it. And it was a little girl like standing next to a pool. Mm-hmm. And me and Raph sort of looked at each other and we were like, yeah, that could be worth a fucking cheeky watch. But, nah, after that.
I mean, even just like if you isolated the bathtub scene with the scare and just the kids acting in that scene itself, I was just like, I'm kind of over this. Like, it's not, I don't think it's going to be impactful at all.
You've seen that 1,000 times before.
Right. It's like, okay, so the woman holds her head under the water, and she comes up, and
Yeah,
she's
there's
not
there's
there
only
anymore.
so many times
she's
you
there
can
again.
show a creepy house and a creepy bathtub.
Right.
No one has a bathtub
And
like
the girl
that
never
anymore.
dies that way. What would be creepy is if you threw something in where, like, she held her head under the water and then gets stabbed 47 times right on camera, right? Then you're like, okay, this is a little fucking creepy. Let's, but yeah, I don't know. La Llorona, yay or nay? What do you guys think?
I'll
You gonna go
pass.
see it? Dark Phoenix, I'm passing. I think I can agree you guys probably will.
Yeah,
La Llorona.
I might go see
Yeah.
it just in case.
Yeah, I'll have to
'Cause
hear your opinion on
I-
that before I go then.
You never know. It could be something that has a really decent backstory.
Yeah, I mean, and it is James Wan.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
What? So
We're recording rather late, so if you hear a lot of yawning, that's why.
Insidious, right?
Yeah.
What did you think about those?
Um,
Because they got
those
worse.
are very hit and miss too for me.
So-
like along the same realms, the Sinister movies. I feel like a lot of people hate those movies as well, but the first Sinister movie is one of the few movies I've ever watched that gave me genuine chills when they were showing the snuff films.
I fucking hated that movie. I felt disgusting while I was watching those like little clips.
Yeah, the
And
snuff films.
The music, the way they made it, just like they made you feel like you were watching something that you should not be seeing.
Right.
And that was really, really fucking strong.
And I feel like, yeah, and I feel like if they can take that effectiveness and put it towards another movie,
Yeah.
like, they're going to make millions. But if
But
you
like-
just keep showing clips of, like, a little girl in a bathtub that, like, pretends to get drowned,
Right.
it's not going to bring me in.
Because like the first Insidious film was, in itself, it was a relatively decent movie.
Right.
But the idea behind it made it so much better for me.
If we ever do that, I have the perfect theme song for it.
Oh yeah?
Do you know what I'm referencing?
No.
Insidious 2, the reveal, the twist, the plot twist, where you think it's a woman killing everybody the whole time.
Oh, fuck me.
You ever see those movies, Kyle?
Spoiler.
I'm just gonna have a nap while you
Yeah,
guys
he
talk
looks
about
fucking
scary
tired.
movies.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next one because Kyle's tired. What about Rocket Man? How do you guys feel about that one? Have either of you seen the Freddie Mercury movie that came out recently,
Yeah.
the Bohemian Rhapsody?
I think it could be okay.
I feel like I'd probably cry while watching it.
Rocket Man?
Yeah.
See, for me, watching
I don't know a lot about Elton John, so it'd be
He's
be
fucking
cool to watch.
crazy talented.
oh well yeah, but
Unbelievably.
Yeah, I don't know much either, but I think he probably is a very inspiring person.
I'm
Oh, yeah,
sure
big
he's
time.
I'm sure he's lived a life too. So
Oh, no doubt,
it'll
yeah.
be a interesting movie.
Yeah, stuff about music really fucking gets me for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, real hard.
I think I'm going to go see that one. Because
Yeah.
even just watching that trailer, I was kind of mesmerized by some of the shots, like when he's
Right.
in the swimming pool and there's a kid at the bottom playing the piano.
yeah.
Like, if they just go all out, like, I feel like it's going to be more of like a surreal musical than anything. And I'm kind of intrigued by that. So, but
There
yeah,
are some jams in that trailer as well.
yeah.
Full on jams, man.
So, Rocket Man, yay or nay?
Yay, I would say.
I'd probably go to it.
Yeah, I want to check that one out for sure. And then lastly, the last trailer before we watched Pet Sematary was the Hellboy remake, reboot.
Yes, I definitely want to see that.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
How are you feeling about it, Kyle? Have you seen the Hellboy movies before? Do you know anything about the character?
Yeah.
Patrick,
like-
you know he's a comic book character, right?
Yeah, I've seen the original, the first Hellboy.
You know it's comic books though, right? You
Yeah.
don't like comic book movies?
Didn't say I didn't like comic book movies.
no, I'm just busting
Just
your balls.
said that I wasn't.
To me, the
keen on
trailer,
them.
to me, the trailer just looked like it was just way too much shit thrown in it.
Yeah, that's
And
why.
so-
That's why I want to watch it.
Yeah, and like for me, I'm not into those kinds of movies. Like, I've watched like one of my friends growing up. Well, Ethan's brother, he was like really into Hellboy, and that was the first time I watched it was with him. And like, man, it was so hard for me to get through that movie. It just felt for movies like that. I always feel like they just drag for me.
Right.
There's just so much like action and blah blah blah, but to me it feels like it's just dragging, and it's just like so much shit going on that I don't know.
See,
I lose interest in stuff like that quick if there's not like emotion in the story. I guess.
Yeah, fair.
Like if it's just an action movie, you'd be into it.
That's why, like, after Tokyo Drift, I hated Fast and the Furious.
See, for me, I feel like Mila Jovovich, just her being in the trailer kind of put me off a little bit. Just because they fucking use her in every movie ever, and it's hard to...
I'm hoping that they don't give her, like, a massive part.
It looks like she's the main villain.
Who's the actor in this new
David Harbinger?
Yeah, the guy from Stranger Things.
He's the sheriff from Stranger Things.
That's who plays him?
Yeah,
Oh,
and I
that'd
think...
be cool. I couldn't even tell.
I think he's gonna kill it in the role.
Yeah.
And I've Dax Shepard actually had a podcast where he interviewed him around the time he got cast for Hellboy, and he actually talked a little bit about the prosthetics he got to wear and stuff, and it got me really amped up for the movie before even I saw a trailer for it. And then I saw the trailer and I was super amped for it, and then they showed Mila Jovovich, and I was like, oh man, like.
But like the amount of shit that happens in that, like it. What I liked about it is that it looks like, for a moment, the villain wins.
Yeah.
For a while, it looks like they win.
Which is, Hellboy.
Yeah.
Essentially.
And then it's like, it's clawing it back from the brink. Because, like, what I hate about movies, right, is the threat of that big apocalyptic event. Mm-hmm. And it's like, holy shit, we have to fucking stop this. There's no way we can let this happen. But part of you really wants to see it happen, just to see what it'd look like, right?
Right.
But then they're like, oh yeah, we just managed to stop it. Fuck you.
Right. Kind of like Stranger Things in a sense, where they kind of had the apocalypse, but not, which I felt they did it well. But no, I think Hellboy for me is going to be a yay. What do you guys think? Yay?
I would say yay.
I wouldn't go to it, but I'd watch it.
So really, you're not pumped for it in any way. You just, if it was on Netflix, you might throw it on.
Not if it was on Netflix. If it was on TV at someone's house and they had it playing, I'd watch it.
Ooh, okay.
Looks like we're getting Kyle drunk and going to watch Hellboy.
Right, that's rough. Okay, well, at this point, we've talked about the trailers before the movie, and I think it's time to jump into the movie itself. Fair warning to listeners, this is going to be a spoiler-filled episode.
Yes.
I wanted to talk a little bit about the book itself because 2 days ago we had our last discussion, and since then I decided to start listening to the audiobook. I've been listening to a lot of that, and I can tell you guys a little bit of insight from the actual book that might help, push some things forward from the original movie and stuff. One of the things I wish they would have put in both movies that was in the book so far is Lewis comes home after Pascal dies that day. Comes home, tells his wife he had a bad day. She runs him a bath. He goes and sits in the bath. She grabs a loofah from the shower, starts washing him with it, much like the girls do in Red Dead Redemption. And then she's washing him in the bath, and then she starts giving him a hand job in the bath. And that's in the book. And he talks about it for a very long time.
Why would you want that in the movie, Kenny? You want to see his wiener or what?
I just think it would be incredibly awkward. It would be like the sex scene from The Room just thrown in the middle of a fucking movie.
Would you have the sound of the hand moving up and down awkwardly
in the water?
The water, so just this.
But all you see is a loofah, like one of those hand sponges on her hand, like rubbing around. And then in the middle of it, when he's like, let's say his leg starts twitching a little bit.
Oh yeah,
she looks over and you just see Zelda in the corner going, Rachel.
No, she looks on the other side of the bathtub and she also has her hand in, and they're both going at it. Rachel.
It's like the new Scary Movie parody.
It totally would be.
Yeah, but there actually is quite a few things in the book that I was hoping they'd put in the remake that they didn't have in the original, which one of the things that I'm being serious about right now is the Wendigo. They actually did show even just like a drawing of it, and Judd did talk on it a little bit in this movie.
You could see him in the trees.
You could just about see him
like
in the trees,
outline.
I wish there was a bit more.
Yeah, I feel like that was a big thing.
It would have been sweet if like the Wendigo like charged him or something. You know what I mean? That would have been cool.
What would have been a really cool ending scene is if the Wendigo
was like
was
walking with the family
out of the forest, holding hands with the mum
Whoa,
and the daughter.
okay, let's not jump into this.
You
too
said
much.
spoilers already.
Just
it's
because,
fucking fine.
just because once we dive into that conversation, I am not going to be able to stop talking about this.
All right.
So, Pet Sematary 2019, starring Jette Lawrence as Ellie, John Lithgow as Judd Crandall, Amy Seimetz as Rachel, and Jason Clarke as Lewis. I didn't put the kid's name because the youngest kid is pretty much useless in this movie. Gage, if you're not sure. This movie was directed by Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer.
What do you mean he's useless? He's psychic.
Well, yeah, we'll talk about
P.S.
that. We'll talk about that. So those guys are like a writer combo, director combo who did the movie Starry Eyes. Do you know Starry Eyes, Patrick?
No.
It's like a low budget horror movie. I fucking hated it, so I was a little bit hesitant when I found that out today. They also did something with the movie Holidays. Do you know that movie? It's like an anthology series.
Yes, I think I've seen that.
Right. So they did something in that as well. I'm not sure which one. I'm assuming with the masks and stuff in this movie, he probably did.
I did like pretty much everything that was in that, actually.
Yeah.
I think I can just about remember all of
The
them.
Jesus Easter Bunny one.
Yeah, there was like a kid that found a box or something. Mm-hmm. And then,
It's like a birthday one or something.
yeah,
stupid.
a birthday one as well, yeah.
They also did some stuff with the Scream TV series, which I'm not even going to touch.
No.
So the novel was written by Stephen King, obviously. Matt Greenberg wrote, I don't know, it's like a stupid thing where one guy wrote the story and one guy wrote the screenplay. I don't know who did who. But Matt Greenberg did 1408 as well, which is another Stephen King one we talked about.
We did.
And the other writer is Jeff Bueller, who did another movie we talked about on the last episode,
Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Midnight Meat Train. Which,
Close
aside from sharing a nickname with my friend's mom, I know nothing about. So, a lot of throwbacks to the last episode in this one. But yeah, okay. So, boys, did you think you'd like this movie? Since I can't ask you if you've seen this before.
I thought it was going to be better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're on the same page.
I wish, like, just from the one picture that I saw on the internet, because I didn't want to watch the trailer, they showed, like, the creepy kids in
Yeah.
the masks. If they would have put some more shit like that in it, it would have been that, you know, that creepiness could have been in the movie and made it a little better. It got way too serious.
It did. It really did.
It's supposed to be a serious story.
It's
though,
supposed to be a
is the
serious
issue.
story, yeah, but I feel like they could have done so much more.
For me, they went way, like you were saying before, they went into the trying to get the jump scares.
Yeah, they
where
did.
they could have just made it a creepy movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so a little bit more information on this movie. The budget was $21 million,
Fuck me.
which was double the original.
It wasn't double the goodness.
Well, yeah. The opening weekend gross is unknown because we are
just
part of it.
happened,
But from what we can see from just being in the theater, being a quarter to half filled.
Yeah, the opening weekend gross is at least $46.
Yeah, I could tell you that
It's
much.
definitely going to be that much.
But yeah, as of 10 a.m. this morning, it's got a 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb, which is the exact same as the original.
That's weird. No, it's not weird, actually.
It's got 69% on Rotten Tomatoes. The original had 50%. It's got a 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 80% of Google users liked this. Only 89% liked the original. So, yeah, this is going to be a discussion to have. Okay, let's kick this off though, quick. Do you guys regret watching this movie?
No.
Kinda.
Really? And what's your reasoning?
I don't feel like they needed a remake. Like, why would you remake it but not do anything better?
I feel different. I feel like they did a lot better.
But the only stuff I feel like they did, the acting itself was way better, granted.
Right.
But every bit of acting compared to the 80s is going to be better. The special effects were also better, obviously.
I disagree with you there.
What, the special effects?
Here's the thing. This felt like a Netflix movie.
A Netflix original, right?
Except that the last Stephen King Netflix original that I did watch was Gerald's Game. Have you guys seen that movie?
Yes.
And I feel like Gerald's Game special effects were way better than this movie's.
They were.
And I feel like that movie was a lot more captivating than this movie as well.
That movie was
Which is
creepy.
sad, because this is a fucking box office movie. And not even half the theater was full. And I think the issue is because everybody who's gone to see it also feels like it's a Netflix movie.
Yeah.
Like the special effects, there's the scene where they're walking through the swamp. It took me right out of it. Because the swamp scene I thought was cool, because in the book there's like a really long scene where they discuss how it feels like you're walking on bones, but you can't tell because the fog is so thick, and if you misstep you'll fall, and like all this stuff. And as soon as they showed the swamp, I was stoked, but then it took me like
You could
that
almost
to realize it was green screened. It was almost as bad as the green screening in the room.
You could almost see the fog machine.
Yeah.
There was all like when they first cut to that scene where they're walking through, you could see this like.
See, the thing is, if
Of
it,
fucking
this
smoke.
day and age, when you have movies like The Avengers, where Robert Downey Jr. can look like he's wearing an entire suit of Iron Man armor and not be wearing anything even remotely close to that, be put on screen and it look as realistic as it can possibly be. I don't want to go to a theater and watch a movie where it looks like it's actors standing in a room with a sheet behind them with just like a projector on it, right? And to me, that's what it felt like at times.
Like they really could have done some sort of location.
They did a little bit, I think, too, though.
I mean, for that swamp, because there are creepy places out there.
Well, even the Pet Sematary was kind of cool. But then, like, it was almost like the important parts where your special effects money would come into it. They just didn't use it. Although, the special effects on the little girl's face after...
Yeah, they were pretty decent.
was pretty good.
You
mean the contacts?
No, the eye droop.
Yeah, because it wasn't obvious until you kind of looked at it and you were like, ooh, something's not quite right there. But then I just didn't find the little girl very scary.
But still, again, after getting hit by a truck, I think you'd look a little bit more fucked up than that.
Well, as far as I'm aware, all that happened is that she got biffed a bit by the ladder on the back of the truck.
That's also part of, like, a mortician's job is to try and make them look as presentable as possible.
Also,
even putting clay on their face and shit to...
Also, in that one, like, it was a lot like the crash in the first movie, but... I don't know. I think that fucking tanker thing would have blown up, full of fuel or not.
Yeah.
The way that thing hit.
Okay, let's jump into these post-show reviews quick, and then we can talk about our ratings. Actually, let's rate it first ourselves. Then we'll read the reviews, trivia, and then we'll dive into this a bit more. Because I feel like if we do that, we're gonna get to like the 2-hour point. We don't want to get there. I mean, as of right now, before we discuss it much more, because we can adjust it if we need to, but for me, on a scale of 1 to 5, I would give this... I've been thinking about this. I would give this probably a 3.5.
Wow.
Which is like me kind of being generous. I was going to give it a 3, but then I'm like comparing it to... I gave Sleepaway Camp a 3, and I feel like this is a little bit better for me than Sleepaway Camp. Like, I might recommend this to certain people, but I probably won't recommend it to everybody. That's kind of where I'm sitting at with it. But it wouldn't be like a theater recommendation. It would be a Netflix recommendation.
Yeah, my issue with this is that I got way less enjoyment out of this one than I did the original.
Really?
Way less.
Okay. So that makes your rating a little bit more difficult. Because your original rating is 2.5. So you feel like you have to rate it lower.
No, I feel like I'd probably rate it exactly the same.
2.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't feel like it was any better or any worse, because the scenes where it was better, it then did something slightly worse, and then it just kind of kept balancing itself out.
What do you feel like were like some examples of doing something worse? Because that's my thing,
so,
is like the stuff for me is basically comes down to special effects for things they've done
the
worse.
first movie I didn't find scary, but I found quite funny.
Right.
This movie I didn't find scary or funny. Mm-hmm. At all. Either way. There was nothing creepy in this movie, apart from the Wendigo. The sounds that thing were making,
right,
fucked me up, man.
I think we're gonna have to disagree on that. We'll talk about that a little bit more. But
perfectly fine.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying though. There's definitely like a lot of things to be compared here, so it'll be nice to dig into this a bit more. Kyle, 1 to 5 or 0.5 to 5, I guess. What do you feel like?
I'm gonna give it the same rating as I did, a 3, which I'm feeling now I probably shouldn't give it a 3, but I'm going to, because if I wouldn't have watched the original 2 days before this one, it would have been a little better.
See, this is my thing, is I felt like the entire time I was watching it, I was filling in story gaps that might actually be there. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you hadn't seen the original or read the story and you just watched this as a standalone
that's exactly
movie,
what I thought.
it might be garbage.
If I'd have watched this on its own without watching the previous one, I wouldn't have had a fucking clue what was going on.
Right. So I guess in that regard, it's kind of hard for us to fully rate it properly.
If you were going to make a remake, you can't expect people to have watched the original.
Yeah.
And already know all of the background, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. And for me, like when I was watching it, I definitely felt that at times.
And that's why I didn't feel any different about it. Because it was literally like watching the same movie.
Yeah,
just
like the first half of it was the exact
there was no different
movie.
I see. For me, because I've been listening to the audiobook, I've been comparing the book to the original all day, and I've been noticing that it's completely different. I didn't like that, but when I was watching this remake, it was almost like there were parts that were shot for shot from the book that are like for me, it made me a bit more excited to see what was happening on screen just because of that. Because there was certain things that they did change, even very minorly, like certain characters they introduced and stuff like that, that I thought was kind of cool that they tried to stay close to the source material in that regard. But also in that regard, it was like almost like I said, taking parts of a story, chopping. Okay, this is the best way to explain it. It's like if they shot a full movie and they were like, okay, we need to condense this into a vlog for today. And they just cut out all the stuff that mattered. And they were like, okay, here's like a greatest hits clip show of this movie. And we'll just throw in some random slow burn stuff just to kind of try and explain it. But there's not enough there to explain everything the way that it needs to be explained. And to me, that's like the most difficult part of this story.
But that's the same as like what I said in the last one, is you're taking a really extensive, very descriptive book and making it into a movie.
And I feel like if they would have done this as a longer movie, like lent into it and just said,
or made it like a
2.5 hour
series
movie
of
whatever.
like a TV series,
Netflix series,
it could have been very good.
It's kind of sad that it's just what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I was hoping that it was just going to be, because like there was nothing really wrong with the original.
Yeah,
it was just an 80s movie, right?
Yeah,
I mean they had such a solid foundation to build on.
There wasn't anything wrong, but there wasn't anything like great about it either, though, which was the issue. I mean.
No, but that's
there's a lot of things.
Like they were starting with a solid 2.5.
Yeah, like it's a good way to get you interested and learn. Like the first one, you learned some stuff. If they would have made this more extensive and told you a lot more stuff in it and used a lot more background and didn't just completely follow the first one, like they could have changed the storyline a little more.
Yeah, okay, well let's read user reviews real quick, because there's a lot that I want to talk about with this. Yeah, we'll get into that. So Kyle, I guess, will be the first reader. I think I gave you the 1 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, so these are shorter reviews. These are all reviews from this week because these are all people who have seen it in the past couple days. You've heard our rough review so far, so let's hear from other people. These are all IMDb user reviews. Kyle, take it away, I guess.
This one's from April 3rd, 2019. It's a 1 out of 10 from Rowan Mail Lot.
Is there any numbers after that name?
Nope.
Okay.
He says, or he or she says, another stupid slasher. I don't even know why I'm reviewing this, to be honest. It was such a piece of garbage and complete waste of your money. Here's some advice. Don't mess with the original.
Short and sweet. I mean, saying it was a complete waste of your money and a piece of garbage, I think is a little rough. I don't know if it's a waste of money, but I mean, I definitely did feel like...
You paid for it.
Yeah, I guess so. But we also, I feel like I also get a little bit more out of it because we get to come back here and talk about it. If it was just me going to watch it and leave, I feel like I'd be a little bit more disappointed with it.
No, like, it's not like it was garbage. It was cool. For me, it was cool to watch the new one after watching the first one because it's cool to see the differences like obviously the person who the people who made this one too are fans of the original, and it's cool that they wanted to redo it and whatever, but I just feel like they could have done so much more. It makes you think, like, were they pushing a deadline to get it out?
They were, yeah. Do you also feel like part of you is comparing this to It subconsciously as well?
Yes, the new It movie was incredible, and
it was so good.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like that set the bar a little bit high? Like maybe if this came out
like
just before It,
incredibly high.
Right. I feel like if they would have made it a little more like It, where they didn't get so far in the story, because It is making a sequel to now, and they kind of split it up so that they could give a lot more backstory, which they could have done with this because they leave the ending wide open anyways.
So the main difference between them is that It had some jump scares, but what it did do is that it frightened you, but then the thing that frightened you didn't go away. It stayed there on screen, and you were just kind of sat there having to fucking face this just sheer creepy scenario.
So do you guys feel like if they would have split this up into 2 parts, they would have been able to do more with it?
Yeah. I feel like they should have focused on...
Also, the thing that I hate about scary movies is when they make everything so dark and hide everything. If you have that much money to spend on fucking prosthetics and green screen and...
Well, they obviously don't. If they're fucking...
$21 million is quite a bit. They could have used their money a little more wisely.
Yeah,
but you know what I mean? When I watched It, they didn't hide a fucking thing.
No.
They had, like, that guy's makeup was done, and it was creepy as fuck, and he was in your face the whole movie.
Right.
They didn't hide a thing. It was like they did it in
that's
daytime.
What fucking creeps me out is because it was never at night. He was always there.
The creepiest part of that movie for me was when he was standing outside of that abandoned mansion in the sun, just staring
I
at
fucking
you.
hated
and that like is burned in my brain now,
man.
and that fucking creeped me out. And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's right out there, nothing to hide, and that's what I hated. Like, this movie again. Every time that they had something that was supposed to be creepy, like fucking Zelda in there, they made it dark and dingy, and
they
you couldn't
definitely
see a
could
fucking
have
thing.
incorporated her more, I think.
Whereas in the last one, we were like, why the fuck was she in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, but they didn't explain her at all.
They did. That's the one thing that I did like about this, is they did explain.
Yeah.
And they had a good way of doing it. Like, they had the daughter ask.
But, like, because
You
they
know?
explained it, they should have... I would have quite liked it if the daughter to bother the mum took the form of Zelda and was like crawling about.
Right. Okay, just some insight real quick. I looked this up just so we can reference. So the budget for Pet Sematary was 21 million.
Mm-hmm.
The budget for it was 35 million. So that's almost double, which means like
But it was a longer film.
right.
It's 2 hours, right?
Right. But that's still also like a lot more money to throw into special effects though.
The thing that bothers me is if they're so scared of the Wendigo in the dark or whatever, why the fuck doesn't he just go bury them up there in the daytime too?
So
like, they do that to hide shit. They make
for
it always
me-
dark to make it
No,
seem
so in the
darker.
book, the whole idea is that the spirit of Pascal is trying to keep the father from going up there because he's basically warning him like death is coming. Just I've seen it. Just no matter what happens, don't do this. And the Wendigo is known, like its power is to lure man into the forest so that it can feed off of its energy, like feed on it. So I think the whole idea of this actually is like the energy that they're feeling that's drawing them to the forest. Like they maybe don't explain it as much, but it's actually like the entire thing that's going on is the Wendigo. That's why the ground is soured, because the Wendigo came. He tainted that sacred place, and anything that's buried there, the Wendigo claims as its own, and it like sours the soul and it kind of possesses it. And that's what I got from it anyway. So in this one, when they kind of explain it more, where they have like that energy that's drawing him back to it, like you see at one point the father just can't help but keep bringing shit back. In the original movie, you were like, why does he keep bringing people back? This is fucking stupid. There's no, but in this, you
he
felt
doesn't.
well, I personally kind of felt like he felt almost like a need to keep going back with things, because he was like, even though he saw the cat was evil and stupid, there was a part of him that was just like mad and depressed and like vulnerable to the possession of the forest.
I
to bring
disagree.
him
I don't
back.
think he was possessed by the forest. I think it was just he was hurting so bad about losing his daughter that he wanted to like he said, like that's what they were making this whole movie about. It wasn't him being possessed from by the forest like the original one did kind of make me feel like that. This one, I feel like it was just he would do anything to have his daughter back, and he was like, I'm gonna give this a shot. And I don't think he really like did not think it was gonna work, but he needed to try.
I feel
That's what he said. He's like, I wasn't ready to not see her. Like I needed her in my life.
There was way more of
an
an like emotional attachment. In this than
and that's
was
what made the
other
movie
one.
so serious.
I get that, but also like even like John Lithgow's character Judd explains in this, he says that the forest feeds on your grief and your vulnerability.
Yeah.
Like he explains it that like he finds you at your lowest. It like finds you at your lowest point and it brings you in.
But in this movie, compared to the original, he was not gonna bring his wife back. He was not going to.
Yeah,
he was he's like, I'm fucking done. This
In
is
this
a bad
movie?
idea. In the new one, he was not going to. He wasn't. It was the daughter that it was her. She wanted to bring them, like, kill the mom and bring her back.
It was her plan.
Yeah.
It was all the daughter's plan.
Right.
Because she wanted to be with her mom.
I feel like the factor here that kind of broke it for me was the fact that Gage was there. If Gage was left at the grandparents and he didn't have that kid to look after, I feel like he probably, part of him would have just given in. Because the mom, if the mom didn't show up with Gage, there would be so many different things that happened here. Like in the original, he doesn't even see his wife until she's dead.
Mm-hmm.
Here, he actually has to like kind of snap out of it a little bit to save his child.
And that's the thing. Like I think he.
I feel like it like snapped him out of his grief a little bit to be like, hey, you gotta fucking like man up.
Take
charge,
my dead daughter
this.
just killed my wife. He isn't fucking trying to save anyone now except for his wife.
Right, but
Yeah.
if Gage wasn't there, I feel like he probably would have just been like, okay, Ellie, you can't do this. Honey, we gotta fix this. Let's fix your mom. Let's fix this. We can fix this. But because Gage was there, I feel like that introduces something else to the plot.
Yeah, I get that. Because in the original, he's already grieving, and then he finds his wife dead.
Right.
And then it's just this... Because he was so close to not even killing his son again.
Right.
But then he just had to. But he still decided to bring his wife back.
Exactly.
Yeah. But in this...
And even when she came back, he was happy to see her.
Yeah, because because Cage was still alive
but
and well.
he was thinking that it only worked on... Like, it only made men bad. Like males.
Yeah, no, I feel like he just fucking fully... He didn't have a chance to be grieving long enough to go back to the forest, but he probably would have done.
See, yeah.
I think in the new one, it was he saw the evil in his daughter right away, and that turned him off of it.
He didn't. He was debating it.
Even when he saw the neighbor, he was kind of like, oh, Ellie. And he was kind of like, you could see that inner turmoil of like, how am I going to reel this in? How am I going to figure this out? Because he was, even with the wife, he was trying to figure out ways to keep Ellie there, no matter what. Like, even when the wife was like, I'm going to leave, he's like, no, it's fine, sweetie. And if he would have came back and John Lithgow was dead already, he would have been like, it's fine. And that's why he ran back, was to be like, don't hurt your mom. He didn't care that she already killed the neighbor. He just didn't want her to hurt the mom. But because the mom was holding Gage out the window and was like, take care of our baby, he basically had to be like, fuck, this is like going too far. I have to snap out of this. Yeah. Because it's almost like that point past grief where you have to just snap out of it. It's almost like with the person that you love, if you guys both go through something traumatic together, like death, you have to snap out of it to be there for one another at some point, where you can't just like process those feelings or just like wallow in them, I guess. That's the way I feel anyways.
I gotta say though, the killing scene at the very end was pretty good. Like the man actor in this movie was way better than the last one.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
The acting in this movie, I feel like, is phenomenal. For me, it was my issue with it was like 80% special effects.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about these last couple reviews, and then I want to kind of go through and bring up some things that they've changed and see what you guys think, if it was for better or for worse and things like that. We'll go through that a little bit. Patrick, did you read yours yet?
No.
Okay, so you got the 5 out of 10, right?
Yeah, so this is from M. Dasker, April 2019. So 5 out of 10, and he says, sometimes the original is better and shouldn't be remade. What started with some potential, Pet Sematary 2019
come
should
on,
just
man.
stay buried forever. Fuck off, Kenny. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. Clark and Lithgow do a good job with a very thin script, which I agree with. There was barely any script in this.
I feel like at one point the wife muttered something that I thought was pretty funny. That was clever. It was the one line in the movie that I really liked was when he said the cat was dead.
Vet.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
Well, that was in the first one too, but
was it?
Or he said it. I think he's like, well, I'm not a fucking vet.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, I think
that.
he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry. Go on.
It was funny.
The filmmakers really did try and scare the audience with a jump scare every 5 to 10 minutes, and increasing that majorly in the last act. Not going all nostalgic, but the original, although a bit cheesy at times, was actually scary and didn't really cheap on jump scares. The whole twist everyone is talking about is revealed in the second trailer, and it didn't pay off. Sometimes dead is better in this case. This should be buried with the other bad Stephen King films. Such a shame. Was looking forward to this. This was no It, put it that way.
See, yet another person that was comparing it to It, which is problematic. But
yeah, because it's a different film completely.
It's not even the same people funding it. Like, nothing about it is the same except that it's based on someone's book. Yeah. So it's tough. I'll read mine real quick. This is by Guyver Baseman or Basem. from April 4th, 2019. It's a 10 out of 10. Wow. A perfect one is the tagline.
Oh, fuck you, dude.
This made me really scared. The movie is really super great. I hope there is a sequel. I bought the ticket before movie started, and I was the only person who is watching it, believe it or not.
Is that it?
Yeah, there's no punctuation, and he literally says... I bought the ticket before movie started, and I was only person who is watching it, believe it or not. So
When
he
else
just said...
You're not going to buy the ticket after the movie,
That's what
you fucking nonce.
And he was the only person in the theater. I guess it's the...
I'm not sure he watched the movie.
So yeah, that was a thing. That was the 10 out of 10 review.
Genuinely skeptical that he was ever even at a theater.
Right, that's kind of why I picked that one for the 10 out of 10.
It's just a robot that they paid to like review the movie.
This movie is great. I like movies. Movies I can watch.
Human needs sustenance.
This movie was very horror.
Okay, let's talk about some of this trivia real quick. Get that out of the way, and then we'll touch on some things. And yeah, Kyle, you got your trivia lined up here, buddy. There's not as much as the old one, but I don't really expect there to be because it's only been out for today. So, but there's some
Jason
stuff.
Clarke, who's that?
Jason Clarke is the main guy. Yes.
All right, so this one, Jason Clarke revealed that the scariest scene that he did was digging up his on-screen daughter in the real cemetery at 4 a.m. during filming.
Which would be kind of creepy when you think about it. 4 a.m. you're in a graveyard.
Wow, 4 a.m.
Digging up in a cemetery.
They actually filmed that at 4 a.m.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, like, some shoots are fucking crazy, like all-night shoots. Because they got to get the right takes and stuff.
They could have just done it in a room with a green screen.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Everything else was.
I wasn't looking at the background in that one.
Not when
Where was that one police officer though?
Yeah, and that
was
cop didn't show up, hey?
Yeah, not today.
I know, I was waiting for it. I was watching it, like, waiting for it.
He was like, oh, is that a shovel by that tombstone? Oh, well.
He just... Nope.
Gravedigger forgot his tools.
Didn't see that. Looks fine to me.
But to be honest, though, if you're like a fucking cop and you pull up to a graveyard and you think somebody's actually in the grave and you're like, don't know if that's a person or not.
Yep.
See you tomorrow.
Fucking gone.
I'll be back in the morning.
Yeah, I'll come check this out in 2 hours.
Yep.
All right, Patrick, you got your trivia here, buddy?
I do, yep. Okay, so... when Rachel is returning home from Boston, there is a highway sign that says Derry 20 miles, an Easter egg for It. In the original, the sign said Salem's Lot, a reference to another King story.
Did you guys pick up on that?
Nope.
No, I didn't see it.
It was when they were in that traffic jam. There was a thing that said Derry.
Saw the sign, didn't make the connection.
Oh, okay, yeah, so Derry, Maine is where It is set. So,
Cool.
Okay, so I will read this one. I think this is the one that you guys don't have. In March 2019, producer Dee Bonaventura admitted that a prequel to the film is possible if the film is a success financially, saying, I generally don't start thinking about sequels until they're a success. I think if there's anything here, it's a prequel. I think if you look at the book, we didn't cover all that stuff that happens before the Creed family moves in. So I think there's a movie there, and I think I'd be particularly interested in doing that because, again, it's the source material, and you are going towards something that also has a lot of crazy, creepy feelings about it.
So they should have just done that first.
Yeah, they really should have.
Right. So I feel like a prequel is a terrible idea because, as we saw in the movie, which I'll talk about, there's some things that they mention in the book, such as one of the things Judd mentions in the book is that somebody buried a bull, a cow bull, and it came back to life. And in my head, I pictured like a fucking, like, you know, running with the bulls in fucking Spain. I just pictured that in like one town, just one bull just running around goring people.
Also, how the fuck did he carry a bull up there?
Yeah, that's
dead
true.
bull?
Fuck me, must have been a big old boy.
Right. And then in the original movie, there's also a scene where they said that like some guy's son died and he buried his son and his son came back. And then we saw that and they lit the house on fire. Remember that?
There was none of that.
So there was a newspaper clipping of a person being brought back to life, or a body that was missing from a mortuary.
The Vietnam veteran, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
same guy.
then in this movie, the one change that they did make that I did like, which we can discuss later, is they hint that Judd had actually buried his wife up there as well. So we'll dive into that a bit later, but that's another thing I wanted to mention. Okay, Kyle, you're up.
The directors Kevin Kolsch and Dennis Widmeyer told EW the twist in the screenwriter Jeff Bueller. It's a weird way to spell it. In Jeff Bueller's script allows the story to explore some new aspects of a child returning from the dead. Since the older girl can say and do things a 2-year-old simply can't. Yeah.
So how do you guys feel about that twist?
It was kind of surprising.
Had you watched any? You hadn't watched any trailers,
I saw
right?
it.
No.
I saw 5 seconds of a trailer and it ruined it.
Yeah. And that kind of sucks that they did
I
that.
don't know why you would put that in the trailer.
Right.
I know why they changed it, obviously, is because it fucking a toddler
If
running
they
about trying
would've-
to kill people looks stupid.
But if they would have done the trailer with that shot of Gage running under the road, and then when you actually screened the movie and it was the girl, would have been way different. But because they ruined it with the trailer, I think that's going to put this movie down a
Yeah,
lot.
I probably would have been drawn in more if they hadn't have shown that in the trailer.
Right. I think there's one last trivia fact from Patrick, and then we can talk about this in detail, or however much detail we possibly can about the changes.
In the 1989 version, Ellie Creed was played by twin girls. In this, it's Gage, who is played by twins Lucas and Hugo Lavoie. In the original, they also wanted Gage to be played by twins, but Mary Lambert lobbied for Miko Hughes.
Right. So the girl in the original movie was played by twins,
Really?
and then
Well, they both suck.
in this
Yeah,
one,
they did.
the boy is
Why
played by twins.
why did they need twins? Why did they need 2 of each?
So I think with that, it's in like the Hollywood Screen Actor thing, where they have to have. I'm trying to think of what it is. Like kids under a certain age can only have so many hours working in a day. So let's say they need to shoot 6 hours, and they need 6 hours with one particular kid in a scene. If they have twins, they can have, and the kids are only allowed to shoot 3 hours each. In general, like kids in general can only shoot 3 hours. They can get a 6 hour day by just switching the twins. Right? So they could do 3 hours with one kid, 3 with another, rather than do 3 hours and then the next day they have to wait until they can finish their shoot.
Fair.
Another 3
I could
hours.
also see, like, being a kid actor, you wouldn't want to do the same scenes and shit over and over and over again.
Right.
They'd get restless and, you know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah, you'd be dead
probably
bored, wouldn't you?
And in this movie, they had that with the cats, actually. Apparently, they had 5 different cats for this that they trained for different things. So, like, one cat was trained to, like, sneer at the camera. The other cat was trained to just, like, stand still and look at the camera. Another was trained to do... Like, they had 5 different cats. At the end of filming this, the cats were all adopted out to members of the crew, which is kind of cool. So they all got homes, but... yeah, okay, so let's jump into this. Changes that they made. Pascal. How do you guys feel about that character in this
They
movie?
changed his skin color.
Didn't like him.
Didn't like him
I
at
did.
all.
He didn't.
He
He wasn't in the original. The guy was.
He was charming, wasn't
Yeah, I
he?
want
He
like
was-
charismatic. You
Yeah.
know, like he.
like he'd fully come to terms with the fact that he was dead. He was more
Yeah.
aware.
So what do you feel like the Pascal character's mission is in the first movie compared to this one? How is he used as a tool?
Well, he's fully going out of his way to help the family.
In both of them, you think? Or
In the first one, definitely.
Right.
But like in the first one, he doesn't seem to scare anyone.
No.
Right, so in the first one, you feel like he was a genuine ghost that was helping them.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. For me, in the first one, I felt the same way. But in the second one, it felt more like a weird premonition rather than a ghost. It felt like just like something guiding him rather than like an actual spirit.
True.
Or something that was kind of haunting him. In the book, I think I get that sense as well, which makes sense because one of the kids is psychic, which means one of the parents is probably psychic.
Probably the dad, right?
Right. So that's kind of what I was getting from it. But yeah, I might be reading into it too much because I've been listening to the book.
You know, for me, I think the Pascal thing is just pointless. I don't know why they had to put him in the movie to tell him don't go past that spot when his neighbor said the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like they could have filled that time with probably more story.
So what would you like? Is that the only thing in the movie that you guys feel like is pointless that they've included in it? Because for me, it was both Pascal and Zelda.
Yeah, Zelda was pointless too.
I feel like both of them were included in the first movie to add scares and special effects. But in this movie, I feel like they could have done it without those characters, and people probably would have been pissed, but I feel like they could have focused on the main story.
I don't think people would have been pissed.
I do.
The people that watched the original probably would be.
Or read the book.
Yeah, but I feel like if they should have lent into them more. If they incorporated him into this one, they should have
connected it a bit better somehow.
Yeah, you know,
because honestly, though, like those two parts of the story in general feel completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
it feels side stories.
I'd like it if the sister was like the mum's sister. I'd like it if there was some backstory to how she was maybe like even possessed, but no one realized she was actually genuinely evil.
Right.
Yeah, like they could have been made it so that she was possessed and whatever was possessing her followed the mother around her whole life and finally got her to this place so this shit could happen to her. So you know what I mean?
Let's talk about that. The change in Zelda, the character and their death. In the original, Zelda died by choking and basically was just resentful because she was helpless. In this one, she died because she fell down a dumbwaiter?
Suicide.
Elevator? It wasn't suicide, no, I don't think.
I think they hinted at it being suicide, that she jumped in.
Really? I also find it really unlikely that she would fall into that.
I got the quote-unquote accidental vibe that she was reaching for the dumbwaiter and it fell because it doesn't work properly all the time, and she's...
I don't know.
But yeah, I didn't get I didn't get the impression it was supposed to be suicide anyway, which sucks because if it was supposed to be, then they I didn't get that impression and they didn't do a good job.
No.
Right. So yeah, I feel like that was something they could have probably taken out. Do you guys feel like Zelda was creepier in the old one or this one?
I think the old one, because this one was just too dark, and the first one, it was you saw everything.
You only saw like a very small snippet of her face,
like very small.
Yeah, and it was really fucking dark.
They showed the back and everything, which was really cool. But the first one was really cool. Like
didn't look much different. No. Honestly.
I feel like if they would have leaned into her sister being more disfigured from birth, in general. It would have made for...
But I don't think she was.
No, I know, but I feel like if they would have leaned into it...
If she was straight up just born evil, but like...
Like the pictures we saw were like just like a generically pretty girl, a generically pretty teen that just had some issues.
This evil was just not mixing with her body, and it was causing her spine
Is that what you think it was? Is that what you were getting?
No, I feel like that would be a cool backstory for it.
Right.
Those feet, though.
Yeah, those feet were a bit gammy.
Yeah.
Right.
Did not enjoy.
So
lots of bunions.
So, what do you think the whole evil context of Zelda is?
I don't think there is one. I think she just had that spinal disease.
I think she has spinal disease and it's jealousy.
It's just like a complex that this woman developed.
But I feel like it would have been really cool if there was that kind of hint that she was straight up just evil and she was planning on killing her sister.
Yeah.
And that's why her like weird energy has followed her around for her entire life.
Right. And
it's trying to push her to, like Kyle said, the pet cemetery.
Right. And instead they try to rely on just the fact that it's just her feeling guilty.
Yeah. Which is lame, I think.
Yeah, I mean it's fine because guilt follows you.
It does, yeah, but
it's
not
also-
not in the like a genuine physical terror sense.
right.
Like, what I thought was gonna happen when she was in the bed and like her sister had came back to her and said, "You're gonna be in this bed forever, like I was." Blah blah blah. It would have been really cool if all of a sudden the daughter just jumped out and killed her and left her in the bed the rest of the fucking movie.
Yeah, well, even if rather
Like
than,
that's what I thought was gonna happen. I just thought she was gonna die and then she was gonna be in the bed and that was it.
What I think would have been cool is if the daughter took the form of her sister,
Much
Yeah.
like
and
Gage did in the first movie.
and she crawled onto the bed and just started disfiguring the mum,
Yeah.
like literally
in front of Gage.
Yeah, like just turning her into this fucking pretzel.
Yeah.
Like that would have been terrifying to watch.
Yeah.
Just like the crunching, but like the more she disfigured the mum, the more normal she looked.
I feel like they could have dove into like the Wendigo a bit more here to explain some of the afterlife effects. Like maybe there's rumors that if the Wendigo taints the earth, he gives abilities to the dead that come back or something like that. Or
Yeah.
he like brings up demons that do his bidding or something like that, so that it would explain some of that stuff, like the transformations and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, maybe that's what the Wendigo is. It's a person that came back but couldn't make it out. It's probably the first person.
Maybe she's the Wendigo.
No.
Maybe the body's still buried up on that mountain.
Well, her parents
Well,
were
no,
pretty
yeah,
rare.
because her parents came back as well,
No,
right?
well, maybe those are also Wendigos.
But yeah, like if
No, I'm Kyle looks so annoyed with me
it,
right
it would
now.
be pretty cool if it was like the
Yeah.
first person they buried.
Do you guys realize that we're always like, this could make the movie so much better, and then we like basically write movies.
Yeah. But like, say if it was the first person they buried up there, and that person came back, but they trapped that person there
Yeah.
because they knew something wasn't right, and it eventually, because that's what the
And
Wendigo
they
is,
can't
right?
get out
It
of
feeds
it.
on human
And
flesh.
like that, and like he said, they made that deadwood. Like
So the barricade
so you
wasn't to
couldn't get
stop
in.
people getting in; it was to stop people
him
getting
from
out.
getting out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would have been cool if they would have
Boom.
they would have made that a
Fucking
thing.
origin story for the Wendigo done.
Yeah.
Next movie.
So, how do you guys feel about the introduction of Judd as a character in this one compared to the first one?
Nah, man.
You didn't
like it?
Judd
Good.
had nothing on original Judd.
No.
Yeah.
Not
You
a
don't think
chance.
so?
Ah, definitely
No.
not.
And I didn't I liked his introduction on the last one way better.
As much as it was like, I know it was a throwback to like South Park and stuff, but I just feel like his character sounded way more realistic as a native bloke to that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like just a super thick accent.
Even when he calls him over to say like Church is dead, like the cat, is just like in the first one he actually calls him on the phone and says you should come see this.
loved that the cat was frozen to the ground in the
Yeah.
first one, and
Yeah.
you heard the Velcro like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know.
It was
wasn't
more
as great of a character.
It was arguably more graphic in the original.
The
You know,
Yeah, I can see that.
because like even when in the original when Gage got hit by the fucking tanker,
Semi,
you didn't see his body, and you kind of
you
just
saw the
assumed
bloody shoe,
you assumed that it was fucking ruined.
right?
Like that kid nearly evaporated. But then in this, you see the body, and she's literally doesn't seem to be
nothing wrong with
harmed
it.
at all,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. I'm trying to think. How do you guys feel about not including the housekeeper who hangs herself?
Yeah,
in the
I did
first
not
movie?
understand that in the original movie.
Yeah,
at
that was
all.
another pointless thing.
So in the book, she's actually a family friend that comes around and helps out around the house and stuff when the family can't. She's almost like a housekeeper that they pay to hire.
But
I
just
wish
from when they moved in, because that never made sense to me.
Yes.
Did they bring her with them
No.
when they moved?
No, it was when they moved. I think it would have been cooler in the original movie if they would have had that as Judd's wife, like Judd's wife was helping them take care of the kids and stuff. And then because the mom worked in the original too, still, did she not?
Yeah, she did.
I think it was implied.
No, she said she was a stay-at-home mom.
Okay. So, but I think it would have been cooler if that happened, and then maybe in the book, Judd's wife has a heart attack. I'm not super far into it, but she has a heart attack. She's still alive in the book at like pretty much the whole part up until the cat dies so far in the book. So in the movie, if they would have had her there, whatever, something happened to her maybe, or maybe she finds out she has cancer, hung herself, Judd could have brought her to the pet cemetery. She came back tainted, and then maybe that's how they figure out that this whole thing fucks up.
Yeah,
and whatever.
But he could have done it without anyone else knowing, and then been like, "No, it's a bad idea."
Right. It would have just been his wife is just gone one day, and then be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear somebody dug up your wife's body," and he'd just be like, "Yeah, it sucks. It's a shame. Whatever."
And
like
they find like a shallow grave.
Like
in
if they
his
could have
backyard.
leaned into that, like it would have been better. The original, this one, they cut it out completely. And what I did like was the insertion of his wife into this movie, because she's not even mentioned in the first movie, but they had the housekeeper randomly. How do you guys feel about Judd's wife being brought up in this movie? And did you put that together? Because you gave me the impression, Kyle, that you didn't even piece together that he may or may not have buried her in the pet cemetery.
I didn't get that at all about his wife.
Yeah, it's because when the daughter like took that transformation, she said that she was burning in hell.
And she said, "You did this to me because why would she blame it on Judd though?" She said everything.
No, I get.
I'm gonna pause this for a second. Okay, so we're back. I just heard a fucking scream again, and it was super suspect, and I wanted to investigate because my girlfriend's home, and I wanted to make sure she wasn't hurt or anything, but it was actually some child somewhere probably getting murdered. I don't know. But yeah, so Judd's wife.
Fuck, we pick up weird things.
Burning in hell at the most inopportune times.
It's probably just my stomach yelling there.
11 p.m. at night. Okay, so Judd's wife burning in hell. What would your reasoning be that this was brought up in the movie, Kyle?
Like, it could have been anything. She could have killed herself, right?
I don't know, man.
Like, that's a sin, and whatever, you go to hell for that. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily, like, I don't get how you guys, they didn't say he buried her and tried bringing her back. So I don't get why you guys think that.
Yeah, but they said, you know what you did.
It was something along the lines of, like, insinuating that because he buried her, she's going to have the same outcome as that little girl has, and that's why the little girl is angry at him as well. Type thing. Like, you showed him where to bury me type shit. Because of you, I am burning in hell, and she will too type thing. And that's what I got from it anyways. I don't know. Patrick, you seem to be on the same page as me, kind of.
Yeah, I sort of.
What's
it
that?
wasn't overly obvious, but
You could kind of get it.
yeah.
Could be a stretch.
So, I did like also the insertion of the masks in this movie compared to the old one. I didn't like the underutilization of it, though.
I don't understand why they were only in one scene and that was the only time you ever saw them ever
Yeah,
again.
that was weird for me.
It was just the funeral procession, and I feel like the only reason they put it in this movie was just for trailer fodder, is how it felt. But yeah, I don't know. Is there anything else you guys can really think of that you had issues with or anything? Because like,
Not wildly, they didn't change enough.
I feel like the one part that I do really appreciate, aside from the shitty special effects, was the fact that they went to bury the bodies at nighttime. And they walked through the woods more, and it showed more of that trek rather than just it literally being like 10 feet away from his house, is what it felt like in the first movie to me. The fact that they were actually like walking through the forest at nighttime, and the loon noises, quote unquote, that they were hearing, they were like hearing like banshee screeching and shit. I felt like that was more effective in this movie.
Fair.
It's just that the surrounding stuff that was happening around them felt so cheesy to me that it wasn't effective.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that stuff?
It was all good. It's just
You're just over talking about a mediocre movie then?
just the
That's all it was. It was
Yeah.
just mediocre.
Yeah.
And it's upsetting because they had such a strong starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, not only did they have an existing movie, but they also had a book.
Yeah.
I think they just picked a lot of bad decisions for putting it together.
They tried to keep as much of the original intact as possible.
Honestly,
rather
if
than keeping the book.
they would have done a prequel for the old movie, who cares if it was never remade? If they would have done an introduction for the old movie, it could have been so good.
You know what I weirdly would have appreciated is if it was still set in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. What would they have done?
There wouldn't have been much different though. The only thing that would have been different is they would have had an old car, honestly.
Well, yeah, it would have been everything though, like the lack of cell phones, just little things like that.
What did they like? The only time that they used a cell phone was her trying to call him, and he was
Well, no, the
Like-
truck driver.
yeah
With the flip
but
phone.
Yeah, and
yeah.
then when she called Judd as well and asked Judd to go and check on them.
Yeah, but I mean, she called both of them at their houses. She could have just called.
Yeah, but she was on the road.
I think honestly, the only reason she was on the road like that is to show that dairy sign farm.
Yeah, probably.
Otherwise, she could have just done it from her house, from the parents' house, because she
Yeah,
did call from the parents' house, called him.
I
Before.
feel like there's so many little bits that I was sort of sat there like, oh, that's fucking interesting.
Yeah.
And then it was, you never saw it again for the rest of the movie, which is just a bit lame, really.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else you want to touch on this?
Not really.
I was trying to find the name of the trucking company so that I could say that they were sponsoring this podcast.
Wardville or something like that.
Yeah, but I can't remember what it was.
Also, I'm really curious. There was a remade cover of like Pet Sematary Ramones
Yeah.
at the end of the movie. I'm curious what band that was, but
Let me look it up here for a second. What did you think of that cover, Kyle?
I don't know. Like it sounded, it was interesting because like I do listen to you're used to listening to the Ramones a lot, and I know the old song pretty well. And when I first heard it, it sounded like the Ramones. It just re-recorded, and then all of a sudden I heard the girl's voice.
See, to me, it sounded like a shitty indie rock band. Oh, they're called Starcrawler. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't huge on it, but anyways. Yeah, Patrick, you got anything else to say here, buddy?
Nah,
you guys
man.
got anything to plug? Well,
plugs.
it's hard to keep our energy up here because it's 11 p.m. and we just sat through Pet Sematary and talking about it. So we will say coming up this week, I guess, after you listen to this, it'll be next Friday. So the next episode will be Life Legends episode 7, which we haven't recorded yet, but it should be a good one. And I'm looking forward to that. And then after that, we're going to be doing another movie night on the Paul Walker classic film, Running Scared. We're going to finally get to that, followed by Patrick's pick. Have you picked anything yet?
No, I should probably do that though.
Yeah, that'll be number 1 on your list. Until then, I guess, fuck Judge Reinhold.
And keep an eye on your cat.
And don't walk out in open roads by fucking
Yeah,
semi-busy
just don't
places.
cross the road like a fucking moron. You'll be fine. Jesus, they know trucks. Oh no, the fucking road just riles me, mate. End it. Finish it.
Bye.